Project Management, Chapter 3. So in Chapter 3, we look at project management structures. If you remember from Chapter 2, we talked about how we decide which projects to accept and which to reject. Now we talk about how we manage those projects with different structures. So because projects usually are unique and have a shorter duration than just our normal everyday operations, we have to decide how we're going to organize those projects within our organization. So we want to choose a system that works within how the organization is structured and is still able to maintain the project and keep the project on task. So we have three different structures that the textbook talks about. The first one is a functional organization structure. Under a functional organization structure, we assign the project to people within the organization that we already have existed. So we don't have a separate project team. We just have an individual project that people within the organization are working on. This usually occurs when we don't have the necessary resources to dedicate to staffing an entire project team. So we already have a marketing department and a business department or a business office that does accounting and stuff. And so we let each part of the project be covered by whichever area coordinates with that section of the project. And the managers who already run those departments help coordinate the facilitation of the project through the channels. So in this example, we have an org structure where we have a marketing department, an engineering department, manufacturing, procurement, financial administration, and human resources. So we use these already existing departments to funnel projects through instead of having dedicated teams or a dedicated project manager that manages projects. So what are the advantages and disadvantages to a functional organization? Well, the advantages are that we don't have to expend extra resources. We don't have any change to our current organizational structure. It allows our employees to be flexible and to work on different things. We already have people who are in that expertise. The disadvantages, of course, are that it's slow. There's a lack of ownership. Instead of having a single manager who is involved in making sure that that project gets completed, it's every manager that touches that project is in charge of getting it facilitated. So there's no real ownership about this project. And that can create tensions. It also means that we might not focus on it as much as one department wants us to. It poorly integrates with what our current operations are. We might not get a chance to work on it because we're too busy with our already daily tasks. It's something that could get pushed aside and not seen as an urgent thing, but actually as just extra work on top of my daily activities. Then we can also have a dedicated project team. So this is where we have just a separate unit set up with a full-time project manager who runs the entire project team. So this is important for organizations where we have a lot of projects. So in this example, you can see that we have a regular organizational structure, and then off to the side, we have a project manager and a project team. The sole focus of that project manager is to work on groups or to work on projects and make sure that projects get finished. It operates outside of the regular organizational structure. So it's the opposite of the functional organization that we looked at originally. So what are the advantages and the disadvantages? Well, the advantages is that it's a simple system. It's fast. We have a dedicated team working on projects. Our projects aren't getting held up in other departments. It allows for cross-functional integration when we have different people with expertise, all working on a team together. We can get that cross-functional integration within expertise. The disadvantages are that it's expensive. We have to be able to dedicate the salary and resources to have a dedicated project team, which means that as an organization, we have to have enough projects to justify having a project team. We can also cause internal strife where our functional managers, the managers of our functional departments such as marketing, etc., might disagree with what the project manager is doing within their area of expertise. So they might think that what things that are happening on the project that they should have some say over. We also might have limited tech expertise in that we're not able to pull engineers from or design experts or accountants or other stuff out of the functional areas that they're working in to work on our dedicated project team. The last project organization team that we talk about is a matrix structure. So the matrix structure combines the functional and the project. We have two different chains of command. It optimizes our resource use. So our functional managers can decide when their employees have extra time to be able to work on projects. But we have a project manager who is in charge of that, making sure that that project gets completed. So we have the availability of the expertise from the functional teams, but we still have a project manager who is making sure that that project is getting completed. This is an example of a matrix organization structure. You can see that we have project A, project B, and project C. Each of those projects has its own project manager, and then we have members from engineering, manufacturing, and marketing on those teams that either all or a portion of their time is spent working on those various projects. When we have a matrix structure, the project manager is in charge of what has to be done with the project, how well has the total project been done, when should the project be complete, and the money available to complete the project. Well, the functional manager has control over how will it impact normal functional activities, who do I have available on my team that might have extra time in their schedule, that I can still get my daily operations done and lend you time to this project. The project manager and the functional manager have to work together and negotiate who is going to be on that project team, how much time they're going to devote to that project team, and what tasks they're going to be assigned to. We have three different matrix forms. When a matrix system starts, it almost always starts in the weak form. So the authority of the functional manager is the dominant, and the project manager has indirect authority. So the project manager has authority over their individual project, but they don't have any authority over the people working on the project. Those people have a functional manager that they answer to, and if his work tasks overlap the project, then he's going to get their first time, and the project's can suffer because of that. In a balanced form, the project manager sets the overall plan, and then the functional manager determines how the work is going to be assigned and done. So in that, the project manager and the functional manager, the department manager, work hand in hand to make decisions about how this project is going to be carried off. And in the strong form, the project manager has more control, and then the functional departments act as subcontractors on the project. There are advantages and disadvantages to the matrix structure. Advantages is that it's the best project management structure outside of a project team when it's working well. It can be efficient. It helps us keep projects on tasks. We have project managers driving the completion. We have the expertise available. We have flexibility of staff we already have. Disadvantages, however, is that we can have conflict between the functional manager and the project manager. We also have the different conflict between employees, which can cause stress and infighting among the employees and departments. And how do I decide which boss I'm answering to today? If I have two bosses that have control over my daily tasks, which one am I going to answer to? And what happens when I disagree with one and I go to the other boss and we start this infighting and this internal kind of decision making process? So the functional manager might decide that they have more say over what our daily tasks are than the project manager. And the functional manager and the project manager can end up fighting over resources and personnel. We might not agree with our functional manager and we might want to spend more time on our project manager. There are just all kinds of internal conflict that we can create in this kind of a structure, especially when it's in its weak form. As we progress into a stronger form of a matrix, we start to work through a lot of these disadvantages and problems. But it can take years for an organization to develop a strong matrix structure that has worked through these dysfunctional infighting problems.